I started to read chapter 3 of Zelda and Ivy. We're on the last chapter of this book. But I got to this word and it really confused me. So I thought about just doing this when I read it. The secret, blah, 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 and then keep reading because I probably don't need to know that word. But good readers don't do that, boys and girls. Readers learn new words from all of the books they're reading. So when you figure out how to read a word, it's going to help you understand exactly what that is, what's going on in the story. If this word does not make sense, I'm going to be teaching you guys that you can use the words around it to help you. You can use the pictures to help you. And you can keep on reading to see if that word makes sense later on. But we don't want to skip it and forget about it because that's not what good readers do. So the thing we're going to be practicing today is saying the word the best that you can and then think about what it means. So we're going to go into chapter 3 of Zelda and Ivy, and I want you guys to help me figure out what this tricky word is. Even if you can sound it out and say it the right way, we still need to make sure that we understand that it makes sense with the story. Okay? So let's start reading this together and see if we can figure out this tricky word. I underlined it last night to help me remember that I wanted to share this with you. All right. Chapter 3, The Secret Concoction. Oh, I don't know, but I don't want to give up. So I'm going to keep reading and see if I can figure this out in a little bit. Early one morning, Zelda sat down to write a hi. Oh, that's another tricky word. I'm going to underline that one as well.
Teacher, the I doesn't say its name because there's no E at the end.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sophia. Next time I want you to make sure you raise your hand, okay? I want to underline it so that I can come back to it. Maybe there are some words around it that are going to help me solve what this word is. Zelda sat down to write a haiku poem. So this must be a type of poem. I'm going to keep reading and see if we can solve it. For her grandmother, Ivy came in, shaking a jar of liquid. What's that? Asked Zelda. That must be what this picture is right here. Oh, and there she is. I'm making a secret. Oh, there's that word again. Okay, I'm going to use my skills I've been practicing to see if I can solve this word. I want to be able to say it the right way. So we're going to take this word apart. I'm going to call in a student to read the part that I underline, okay? Liam, can you just read this part right here? We have a C-O-N.
Yeah.
C-O-N.
It can be cone or con.
Good job. Okay, we're going to try it both ways because that's a skill we practice. Cone. Oh, I remember something, and this is something that one of my teachers taught me a long time ago. This part right here is saying shun. Okay, we're going to put it together. Concoction. Liam, that sounds right. Let's try it that way. I'm making a secret concoction. Oh, I've heard that word before. It's still a little bit kind of foggy in my head for what it actually means, but I know that I've heard that before. Does anyone know what this word means? means. Concoction. I'm going to look for hands raised. That's who I'm going to call on. So if your hand is raised, I want you to tell me, what is a concoction? Landon, do you know what a concoction is?
You are mixing everything and you're making something different.
Making something different? So, they're making something, right?
Yeah.
Awesome job, Landon.
There's two things called concussions.
Oh, make sure you raise your hand, please.
Okay.
Hi, Valeria. I think that are you supposed to be in Senorita Garcia's class, or did she send you here?
I think yesterday I was here.
Okay, that's okay. Valeria, I'm going to call on you. Can you help me solve this word? We know it's concoction, and I heard you explaining a little bit about it. Can you tell us some more?
I think there's like two concussions.
So when do you think they're talking about when we see this picture here? What would this be? Do you think if I finished reading this page, it might help us understand a little better?
Sure.
Okay. I'm making a secret concoction, said Ivy. She poured in some orange juice. You should add glue, said Zelda. So they're adding all of these things together. Do you think that has to do with concoction?
No. But it sounds weird.
It does sound weird. Let's keep reading.
I would not drink that. That would be disgusting. Gross.
Okay. I don't think so, said Ivy. She mixed in a mint leaf and an eyelash. Ew. Put in cinnamon hearts, said Zelda. Make it a love potion. Okay. I see the word potion here. And I know that when we are talking about a potion, it means we're throwing in all these different kinds of things and mixing it together. When we are doing that, boys and girls, that is what the concoction is. It's by mixing all of these things together to make something new. So, by reading the words around it and by looking at the pictures, see, look what she's doing. We can solve these words that are brand new to us. So we have learned that concoction is just what she's doing right now. She's mixing all these different things together, and then she's going to stir it together, and she said she's making it into a potion. So we can say that concoction goes with potion, which might go with recipe. So we can kind of put those words together for when we are solving these tricky words. We can say, okay, this word is very similar to this word. So I can picture that in my mind now as I make a movie in my head. I'm going to pause. We need to send, before?
No idea what it means. I just figured out because I asked my dad.
Oh, okay. That's something we can do too. If there's ever a tricky word in your book, you can always ask somebody to help you. When that happens, you can always check your pictures, and then you can go, oh yeah, that's what my dad told me, and it makes sense with the story. Good job, Brackett. All right, we're going to keep reading. If we come across another word that is super tricky, you're going to help me solve it by checking the words around it and by checking the picture. Then we'll go back and examine the word and see if it makes sense. Okay, so she said make it a love potion because she's putting in cinnamon hearts. Okay, so one of them is reading the haiku poems on the bed. One of them is holding the secret concoction. Now that we know that word, we can use it while we're reading our story. Remember that we need to also focus on who's telling the story. So we can use the words that are happening and the quotation marks to help us label these characters. So I want to go back and do that really quick. Zelda sat down to write a haiku poem for her grandmother. So I know that Zelda is this one. And if this is Zelda, who is this? Go ahead and raise your hand. If this is Zelda, this is Cadence. Who's this? Ivy. Nice job. Ivy. So as we're reading, we can be identifying who these characters are so we can paint that picture in our mind. Okay. We left off on make it a love potion. Ivy screwed the top back on the jar. No, she said. What are you going to do with it? Asked Zelda. We'll see, said Ivy. She gazed at the jar. She wasn't sure herself. Ooh, I see a word here that I kind of mumbled over. I didn't do my best when sounding it out. So we're going to go back and visit this word. I need some help. I noticed there is a vowel here, so I know that vowels make two sounds. We need to try the short A and the long A. Who wants to help me solve this word that I underlined? We need to look for clues in the pictures and other words around it to help us understand. Nicholas, can you help me out?
The word is
gazed. Gazed. Okay. So now that we know the word, gazed. Let's read it again. We'll see, said Ivy. She gazed at the jar. She wasn't sure herself. Okay. I want to see if I can use this picture right here to help me solve what gazed means. Who can raise their hand and help me discover another word we can use for gazed by looking at the picture? Angela, are you on? Angela, can you hear me? Okay. Elijah, I would like to hear from you, okay? Okay, Elijah, we're trying to solve the word gazed. She gazed at the jar. What is she doing right now, Elijah?
She's holding the jar.
Mm-hmm. And what is she doing right here?
Looking at the jar.
She's looking at the jar. So, when we see the word gazed, we can think that, okay, it has to do with her looking at the jar. She's looking at it for a really long time. So I think we could come up with a couple of words to help us identify gazed. We could say looked, like Elijah said. If we look at it for a really long time, we could say stare.
Stared.
Yep, she stared at the glass, at the jar. So we just identified and built our vocabulary up even more. Thank you. So, she gazed at the jar. She wasn't sure herself. All right, first grade, we are going to pause on page 32. I can't wait to see what the secret concoction is that she's making. What I want from